Hello YouTube. This week, right, I had this question running through my head, right? What it would feel like to use an ultrasonic sensor, right, to actually drive a MIDI controller. So I basically quickly hooked up my teensy Arduino together with ultrasonic sensor. So here, right, we have an ultrasonic sensor, and there's only I'm actually using just the analog connections. So you got 5 volts ground, 5 volts and ground here, and the orange line, right, just is basically the analog output, which is being read by the Arduino. And we've got this red and green LED. I don't think you can see my hand. Yeah, the red and green LED basically indicates to me, right, when what the valid bands, the ranges where I can use. So when it's red, right, basically it is the as close my hand can get to the sensor before, and even if I get closer, right, there's actually no like data change. And green, right, indicates the maximum amount. The thing with this sensor I'm using right now, right, is actually meant to detect, if I'm not mistaken, it's something like 6 feet or probably longer. It's really meant for long distance detection. So basically this means, right, when I'm using this sensor for as a MIDI controller, right, it's actually not very ideal because because of the I'm only using like a small portion of the analog voltage, right, which means that when I'm reading in as digital data, right, digital, it's only like 10 bit, the DAC. So I'm not sure if it's 10 bit, never mind. But basically, right, I'm actually losing a lot of precision because I'm only using part of the analog, and basically I'm only using part of the voltage, right? So I'm actually losing a lot of precision. If this were actually something I would consider building, right, I would actually use a much more not sensitive, but basically have a smaller range. And if I decide not to go for smaller range, right, I could do something like an external boost or something just to boost the voltage up. If not, right, basically I'm only using like minuscule amounts of range, and then using that to drive my MIDI CC. So it's not very smooth. Basically you get steps. So even though I did a bit of filtering on it to get rid of some of the jerkiness, right, the filtering is more for smoothing things over, not actually getting data that's not there for you. So well, the circuit is really very straightforward. Just connect the analog in, read it, sample it, and just fit the range that we've got from ultrasonic sensor, right, into the range that can be read by the MIDI controller. So it's very simple. It's like just refit something like, I'm just fitting something from like 20 to 40, right, that's the digital range. Fit it to 0 to 127. That's the range for the MIDI controller. Really not much to say except that I personally I don't think this is a good solution, because you're moving your hands up and down, right? It's actually very tiring. But that said, right, stuff like this, right, can be adapted for people with disabilities and stuff like that can't trigger, like for example like real instruments. They can't trigger it because they're disabled or some form of whatever, right? So this sort of a look at alternative means of creating input may help, personally not for me, right, but for other people who are unable to do it the same way as I do. This is another option for them. So I'm not really gonna upload the sketch because it is really simple. It's just, if you can read a potentiometer, right, you can do this. All right. The last thing I like to mention, right, is I'm actually using the teensy Arduino, right, in a MIDI mode. So basically, right, it's when I plug it into OS X or Linux or Windows or whatever, right, in theory, right, it should look like a MIDI input. Well, definitely, as you can see, right, I'm on OS X and it's working fine, sort of. The problem I encountered, right, is like, because the thing is like, I don't use the onboard sound card of the Mac generally, because I got studio monitors, so I'm actually driving it through a Focusrite audio interface. Unfortunately, when I plug this guy in and I plug my keyboard and my audio interface, right, the audio interface just decides to cut out. I'm not sure why. It might be because I'm just programming the controller somewhere wrong, or it's just something like, you know, just incompatibilities with hardware or something like that. I'm not sure. That's about all I can think I want to say for this, you know, video thing. Alright, so have a good week ahead and keep learning, keep creating. Rock on!